Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lexa for those of you who don't know me, and if you haven't seen any of my other videos, be sure to check them out right after this one. In my last video I made clay rings, which was a lot of fun, but in today's video I am finally doing the part 2 to the last video. Does that make sense? That video was about the top 5 things that I wish I knew before I started sewing or designing. And in this video, I'll be sharing with you my top 5-ish essentials I wish I had when I started. And on top of that, I decided to add some essentials that you should always have. So with all that being said, let's get into the video. So first on this, I have a 1/2-inch curved roller that I personally don't have, to be honest. It's something that I used a lot in fashion school, but my friends had it, so we would just like pretty much pass it around. I'll put a picture somewhere, but it helped a lot with pattern making and putting like a 1/2-inch seam allowance around curved edges like the armhole, so it made it a lot easier for sure. Next, I have multiple bobbins and bobbin cases. I can't tell you how many times I went to sew something and I didn't have a bobbin case. Maybe I forgot to take it out of the machine at school or something. And in fashion school, if you don't take a bobbin case out of the machine, it is a free-for-all for everyone else who gets on that machine later. So I've lost a lot. But eventually I did end up getting a lot. I have literally this, I don't even know if you can see it. It's a whole case. These are all my feet, but also bobbins. And then I have a whole bag of it, but essentially these are all bobbin cases for home machines as well as industrial machines. Obviously I only use a home machine now because I'm not in fashion school anymore. I have since graduated, but keeping them in hopes of getting an industrial at some point in my life. So always having extras, because you may lose them, whatever the case may be, it's always good to have extras. So next on the list I have magnetic pin cushions and the pin cushions that you put on your wrists. This is the magnetic one. These are all my pins, and they literally, I mean, this is a lifesaver, because all those times, say I had my box of pins spilled, I would have to individually just pick it up, pick all of them up and put them in the box. That took a lot of time. So these magnetic pin cushions are perfect for when you drop them and you place it over. And then the wristlet pin cushion, when draping, this is also great to have pins handy with you. And fittings, fittings, great for fittings. Putting this all around with straight pins. When I did my internship, this is where I got that from. I saw how they used it. I just like, I need one too. Next is all different types of scissors. The 2 most essential are to have separate scissors for paper and separate scissors for fabric. I will be honest, I did not do that my first year at fashion school. I used 1 pair of scissors, and when I tell you there are 1 pair of scissors, they were those Singer scissors that are very expensive, overly expensive. In fact, I have them. These. I want to say they're like 60 bucks. I don't know at the top of my head. My dad bought me these my first year, and I regretfully used them for both paper and fabric. And if you're wondering why that's bad, cutting on paper dulls the scissors very quickly. So having designated scissors for paper and a separate one for fabric is very crucial. But also I have a rotary cutter, and this saved me so much time cutting out fabric when I got this I want to say my sophomore year. It's so easy. I mean, you have to be careful because there were a lot of times I would like put my finger on top and then it's so sharp I didn't even notice it was like literally cutting my finger. So you really have to be careful of that. Again, this is not essential. It's like an upgrade, I guess. But it's good to have both regular scissors and this rotary. Sometimes I would even use the rotary to cut pattern paper, but again, same with scissors. I would make sure to have extra blades so that I would keep a designated blade for fabric and designated blade for paper. And then of course we have snips. Tiny scissors, easy to take with you, go into the sewing machine, cut thread, really handy. Again, not an essential, but very handy. And then last, I have pattern weights. So I did have pattern weights when I started out. I wish I had more. So these are the pattern weights that I've had ever since my freshman year. Literally, they just have like these little like metal beads in it that give them weight. Perfect for putting patterns on your fabric and making sure they stay there while cutting them out. But I wish I had more, because what I would do is I would take all of my, like everything out of my sewing box, all my scissors, extra little, I don't know, little boxes of things, I would spread them everywhere to use them as extra weights, because 4 is not enough. When you're cutting out a big skirt or a dress or something, honestly, even just a simple bodice center back piece, 4 is not enough. So having extra definitely would have been nice. So for some other things that you should definitely have when you're first starting out sewing or designing is have a lot of pins handy. This is, I want to say this is 500 pins. When I first started out, I got, oh psych. I don't know how much this is, but this is 500 pins. This little, and this is what I had when I first started out, and it's great, but then with draping classes and sewing classes, I feel like every class I was buying, you know, a new pack of pins. So this big guy here, game changer. Okay, next, a seam ripper. I just learned in my senior year the proper way to use a seam ripper. The proper way to use a seam ripper, so here's your seam. You put it down in and it literally just rips. Usually they'll have a red ball on the shorter end. I and everyone around me, I swear, we were using it the other way. We had the big side down and went that way, stitch by stitch. I don't know, that may have just been us, but that's the proper way to use one. You're definitely gonna need this. It's just gonna happen. You're gonna put in a sleeve wrong. You're gonna need to seam rip. Next, you're gonna need, if you're making your own patterns, you're definitely gonna need a tracing wheel and tape, as well as paper, pattern paper. Pattern paper definitely helps better, but any kind of paper, for real. This is perfect for transferring darts. If you drape on the dress form and want to transfer that to paper, great. This is also great for transferring darts to, or anything, transferring something from paper to fabric or fabric to paper, essentially. If you don't know what tracing wheel is, it is literally, can you see that? They have spikes. I mean, they're not that sharp, but yeah, you could, I guess, be careful, but you literally just, and then for tape, you're just gonna need it. When making patterns, drafting, tape is gonna be needed. I use Scotch, and I always use the matte finish because you can draw over it. Measuring tape. I have, you know, the regular measuring tape, and then retractable. Super easy, great for fittings, not much to say about it. Measuring tape, everyone's got it, you gotta have it, and having a retractable one, it makes your life easier. Next, extra machine needles and hand sewing needles. Machine needles are a must. I buy a couple packs at a time, different kinds. I mean, you need to make sure you're using the right needle for the fabric that you're sewing on. I have 2 packs right now. Again, it's just another thing that happens when you least expect it. The needle breaks, the heart sinks, and it sucks. But having extras, always good. Hand sewing needles. Oh, I have a lot of these apparently. I honestly didn't even know I had this much. have a lot of hand needles. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Again, having extras because if you're like me, I lose things a lot, especially small needles, which is not good. I definitely have to be careful where I walk a lot of times. Last but certainly not least, a beautiful iron. I just recently purchased this baby about, I want to say Christmas time. There is nothing like a good iron. Pressing your seams open, again, you're gonna have to do it. If you don't, it's a mess. I can't tell you the amount of times I spent 30 minutes, depending on the garment, maybe even an hour pressing something, whether it was pleating, seams, making sure that everything was perfect. I mean, it's key to making garments look perfect and nice and clean. I really love pressing. I think it's just so satisfying. So yeah, I gotta think of a name for her. Sorry if you think that's weird, but I name my dress forms and I think she deserves a name as well. Alright, so there you have it, all of the essentials for starting out in sewing or designing. I hope that one of these things will help you out, whether you're just starting or whatever it may be. And if you are already sewing or a designer, you know the ins and outs of all of these essentials and just how much we use them. I swear I have multiples of everything because I am constantly losing things. But especially if you're in fashion school or you're planning to go to fashion school, having multiples is necessary. The amount of times I'd let people borrow my things and we're at the studio for hours, so then it slips my mind. I leave, come back the next day or whatever, and then I go to do my work trying to find that same machine needle or something that I gave away, and then I realize I don't have it. It could definitely be frustrating at times, but right now I would give anything to be back in fashion school and be with everyone again. I miss it. But anyways, if you did enjoy the video, give me a thumbs up down below, comment what you would like to see, and subscribe if you haven't already. But until next time, bye!